Welcome to Gate City Insider. I'm Rosemary Plyben. Overlooking the lake at Country Park is a quiet place of remembrance and reflection. The Guilford County Veterans Memorial honors veterans past and present with more than 1,200 personalized brick pavers. Men and women who served our country in the Army, Air Force, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, and Merchant Marines have their names carved in the stone there. Susan Danielson is the chair of the Guilford County Veterans Memorial Board. Hello and
Hi.
welcome.
Thanks for having us.
So glad to have you here. So let's go back a few years, back to 2002 and when the memorial opened. How did we get to that point? How did it get started? Where did the idea come from and how did it happen?
Well, this started long before 2002. As we've learned, construction takes a while. But this was started when a group of businessmen and community members who were veterans came together and they said, you know, there's no place in Guilford County to honor veterans. And they thought that that was a big gap in the proud history and traditions of Guilford County. So they put their brains together and they came up with a plan to put together a Veterans Memorial. And it wound up being in Country Park behind the Greensboro Science Center. It was formally dedicated in September of 2002. It was formally dedicated in September of 2002. And we hope to rededicate it this upcoming September. We've had a lot of work going on, and we're excited to share all of the renovations and modernizations that have been going on there.
Okay, we're going to talk about that in a little while.
Sure.
But first, for those who haven't visited, what could they see from 2002 to now?
Well, currently they're going to see a lot of mounds of dirt and holes in the ground, which is a sign of progress.
Yeah.
So we're super excited about that. But what you will see is a rotunda with several hundreds of bricks, personalized bricks that are in that rotunda, and a very large granite obelisk. That's the centerpiece of our memorial, and that centerpiece, that rotunda and that obelisk, will remain. Everything else is going to be refurbished and modernized. But what you're going to see, hopefully, is a place of peace and calm and quiet reflection and a way to honor veterans, because that's what that memorial is all about, is honoring veterans.
Also, events happen from time to time there?
Yes, we do have events there. We have 2 per year currently, one on Memorial Day and one on Veterans Day. Actually, we do them the Sunday before because we know everybody's holidays are full. Mm-hmm. And yes, we usually have guest speakers and color guards, and we sing the national anthem. And it's just a great, quiet time to get together. Like-minded people get together who love veterans, love America, get together and pay their respects to those people who've built the freedoms that we're accustomed to.
Yeah, and there's so many names that are listed there, and I think that's what, to me, makes it so special. Do you have any favorites, or do you have some stories that you can share about some of the names there?
They're all incredibly special. Yeah. You know, I've been researching the names that are on those bricks, and I'm just astounded by the sacrifices and the contributions and the experiences these people have. It's phenomenal. You never knew that you had so many local heroes right here in Guilford County.
Mm-hmm. Going back how far?
Well, we start with the 20th century and beyond. So you're looking at World War I, II, Korea, Vietnam, Cold War era, Iraq, Afghanistan. You know, they're amazing. They're absolutely amazing stories.
And when you walk around, I mean, you're seeing men, you're seeing women, you're seeing, you know, from all these different wars.
Yes.
I'm guessing you're seeing some relatives and family members in there too?
Well, I did happen to buy a brick for my daughter, so I see relatives.
Yeah. Yes. I was going to ask about your connection. Why is this personally so important to you?
I am a veteran. I served in the Army for 24 years. It was the best growth experience that I could have ever asked for. I say that the military gave more to me than I gave to it. It was just phenomenal. You know, character building, leadership building, just it becomes part of the fiber, the essence of your being. And I know that every other veteran who served in whatever branch of the service had some of the same similar character building, personal growth experiences. And they did it for probably very different reasons, but the bottom line was they gave of themselves so that everybody else around them could enjoy what we call America, and the democracies and the freedoms that we enjoy wouldn't be possible without veterans. That's why I'm so passionate about it.
Yeah, tell us about your time in the Army. You said it's character building that gave so much to you. What did you do there?
What did I do? I was a military police officer. I spent most of my career at Fort Bragg. retired as the Provost Marshal out of Fort Bragg, which is the military equivalent to the Chief of Police or Sheriff. Great experiences. I loved being able to serve the family members, the community members, the soldiers, the civilians who lived on Fort Bragg, and give them the sense of security and a sense of law and order.
And your daughter is currently in the Army?
She is. Super proud of her.
Yeah.
Proud mom moment. She's about to be promoted to colonel.
Oh, wow.
I know. She's an Army physician. That's right.
Oh, good for her. And she is where?
She's at Fort Benning, Georgia.
Okay, so not too far away,
Not too
which
far.
is great.
Yeah.
And so just seeing that legacy continue, seeing young people continue to want to serve our country and others, really, for that matter, because our armed forces do so much around the world. What does that mean to you?
I think it's phenomenal when young people decide that they're going to enter the military service. You have to do it because you're passionate about it. You have to do it for all of the right reasons. Otherwise, you're not going to last in the military that awful long. You know, I wish more young people would consider the military as a career. I think that, like me, they're going to get more out of it than they give to it. It's going to shape their entire lives. It's going to give them skills they never thought that they could hone. It's going to create lifelong friendships. I mean, everywhere I go, I know somebody probably within 20 miles of where I am, just based upon my military service. It's a great career, and it's the best thing that you can do for yourself, and it's the best thing that you can do for your country.
And then when you walk around the memorial and you see people who served in the Army, like you did, who served in other capacities, and you read about their stories, how do you think is a good way to really get in touch with and really to understand what just those names in the pavement mean?
Well, there's lots of ways. I mean, you can only tell so much on those 3 lines of bricks, and that's why we have expanded it to have our online digital memorials, where you can add photos and bios of the people who are commemorated on the brick, and you're going to hear a remarkable story from Lou Weinstock about his dad later on in the show. Just an incredible man. Other ways that you can learn is to do your own research, you know, talk to veterans. If you are a veteran, go to veterans groups and learn about the people in this community who served the nation.
Yeah, so share your story. So
Share your story.
go visit the memorial, read some of these names, and go to the website. You can learn more. If you want to get more involved, what are some ways to do? You mentioned the bricks. You can honor someone you know or love. Right,
and we do encourage to people who are veterans, who have veterans in their family, who love veterans, to get them a brick, right? It doesn't cost much. It's only $250. It's tax deductible. We help you create that brick and gather all the information for that online memorial. And we'll begin featuring those bricks on our interactive technology. We're going to have 2 touch screen kiosks that are being installed. So you can search a brick and pull up the story of that person who's honored there.
Okay, so the best way, first visit the memorial. That you can do that first. That's easy. Guilford County Veterans Memorial. It is at Country Park. It's just up the hill around the lake from the Greensboro Science Center. You can also go to the website. The website is gcveteransmemorial.org. That's where you can buy a brick. That's where you can see more of these stories and learn about other ways that you can get involved. But there is a lot more coming up. We're going to talk about how you can honor a veteran, and we're going to talk a little bit later about those renovations Susan was telling us about. That's all coming up right after this break. Welcome back to Gate City Insider. Today, a closer look at the Guilford County Veterans Memorial. Susan Danielson is chair of the Guilford County Veterans Memorial Board, and Louis Weinstock is the son of a veteran. Hello, welcome. Thank you for being with us.
Glad to be here.
Lou, first I want to start with you. When did you first meet, or when did you first visit the memorial, I should say?
So my wife and I have been residents of Greensboro for almost 40 years. And one of our favorite places to walk, obviously, is Country Park, as well as Guilford Battleground. So it was just natural after the memorial was put together that we would walk up the hill and then find a convenient place to rest and reflect. And once we saw all the important information about the local people who served, it became a very comfortable place for us to take a few minutes, take the feet up, but also to recognize the important service of all the different branches of the military that we've had here. And I think it's just a wonderful resource to have here in Guilford County.
And of course, it made you think about your dad.
It did. Yeah, Dad was quite a bit older than my mother, hence his connection to World War II. But Dad actually never talked much about his life in the war, but he was a very simple, kind of elegant man. His priorities were family, faith, and healing. He was a physician in the medical corps during World War II. And from the time that he went to medical school in 1930, really his time was spent healing people. He had an office in our house in New York where he treated people. He served in hospitals and health centers. And when the military came calling in the early 1940s, despite not having any experience whatsoever, he was brought in, and we have a wonderful yearbook showing all of his experiences from 1942 through 1943, where he undergo training with everyone else, and then shipping overseas in 1944, and essentially waiting in England for D-Day, and then following the D-Day invasion by about a week, and then treating thousands and thousands of injured servicemen all the way through VE Day in May of 1945. Again, he didn't talk much about it, but he left this wonderful memorabilia that my sister and I share. And as we have gone through it over the years, obviously it made quite the impact. So when Susan was kind enough to come to our synagogue and speak at a Sabbath service for Veterans Day, learning again about the renovations to the memorial, the fact that we wanted to honor Dad was the no-brainer of the century. And I approached Susan afterwards. We had a brief conversation, and the process was so easy and affordable and manageable that it's just something we're really looking forward to once the renovations are done. And we have an event over the weekend, over the summer, when our family is coming in from all places. And obviously we're going to make a field trip to the memorial and show them Dad's brick. And my sister will be very proud, but I think it's an important connection even to his grandchildren to see what their grandfather did. Because to them it's 80 years ago or more. Seemingly, maybe it's a bit of ancient history, so I think it's a way for them to reestablish the family connection, serving your country, and I think it will make them very proud.
Yeah, I mean, to see their name. Yeah, I belong with him. Yeah, I can walk right by it, I can touch it.
Exactly, and I think for us, maybe for me personally, I'm being a little selfish. My parents are buried up in New York. We don't get a chance to go up there much, obviously. This will be a local place where I can visit Dad and reflect on, life with him and his service. So it'll be a place where I think we'll cherish. We love walking Country Park anyway, but if we need another motivation to get out and visit the memorial and visit Dad, I think this brick will do it.
Okay, I think you have something for him, right, Susan?
I do. There is your dad's brick.
Well, that's a wonderful thing. If he was here, I'm sure he would be very proud of it. He never wanted attention to himself, so I think he may have been conflicted over that, but I think I can imagine when my sister comes down from New York and we visit over the summer, and when his grandchildren come, it makes it more tangible what his service is. It's one thing to look at a yearbook or to look at pictures, but it's another thing to have something you can touch together with the online information that will be accompanying it on the website. We'll look forward so much. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you for
I know
honoring
it
him.
was a chore to make a quality brick, and we'll be proud to visit Dad as well as all the other veterans and their families, that have served related to Guilford County.
You said he didn't really like to talk about it, but I wonder if, being in the company, a brick like this, in the company of so many others who have served, so many other stories, and that might mean something different to him as well.
Yeah, I think it puts everything in context, and actually one fact that I just mentioned to Susan is that our daughter-in-law is actually an active duty physician officer in the Air Force right now. and it's something obviously we're very proud of. She never had the opportunity, obviously, to meet Dad, but I know he'd be very proud of the fact that we actually have another Dr. Captain Weinstock in the military serving in the Air Force. So I think the connection both to Dad and to our daughter-in-law is something that's very tangible and very important.
Yeah, that is really cool. Yeah, you said, you know, as you were doing some of this research, were you able to connect with anyone who served with your dad ever, or perhaps was helped by your dad even?
You know, Dad passed away in 1993, again, because he was actually well into his 40s when he was drafted into the Army.
Wow.
So he lived a wonderful life with Mom, but his other colleagues all passed away in the 80s and 90s. I know he was a member in New York City of the Jewish War Veterans, you know, so that was something I think that was important to him. But the yearbook that I have that we've gone through and our kids and grandkids have looked at, you know, they can see Dad's name, they can see all the other names and the histories of their service and the places in France and Belgium and Germany that they served. We have other kinds of memorabilia, you know, that we can show to them. And I think particularly as our kids are getting into their 30s and they're going into real adults, it's becoming more meaningful now for what what Dad did. And I think they're, in their own way, they're very proud of it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So Susan, how do these bricks really support the memorial, the purchase of them?
Sure, they are a fundraiser for us. Excuse me. We pay a small fee to the company that makes the brick, and then the rest of the money that's gathered from the purchase of the brick goes towards our operating fund. And so that's important because we do have annual operating costs. We are a small nonprofit, so we're thankful for people who purchase the bricks, not only because it puts a little bit of money into our fund, but primarily because it recognizes and honors the veterans. And your father's story is already online.
Thank you. That's great.
I love it. I love it. Thank you both. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being here. Once again, the Guilford County Veterans Memorial is just a short walk from the Science Center at Country Park. You can also learn more at gcveteransmemorial.org. Okay, we promised you the future because there are some renovations happening. As Susan said, right now you might just see big piles of dirt and some holes when you visit, but that is a good thing because bigger and better and more interactive, I should say, is coming. We'll find out more about that when we come back. Today on Gate City Insider, a visit to the Guilford County Veterans Memorial. Brian Sowers is Vice Chair of the Guilford County Veterans Memorial Board. Hello and welcome. Glad to have you with us. Good to be here. Now, you served in the Marines, correct?
I did.
Yes, tell me about that.
That was back in 1970 through 76. I had just graduated from college. That was back when they had ping pong balls that had numbers on it. When you had a lottery, and I figured instead of taking my chances, I'll just join the best. So I enlisted in the Marine Corps, and right out of school I went to Paris Island and all that good stuff. But most of my time was in the reserve unit out in Green Bay, Wisconsin. So I got to hang out with some of the Green Bay Packers at the time.
Oh, really?
They were also in that unit, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, and your son, a Marine as well?
Nick is the real Marine. He joined back in the early 2000s, I believe, and initially went the reserve route as well. But when 9/11 came, he said, I got to go out and help this country. I got to get the bad guys. So he re-enlisted in the regular Marine Corps as a machine gunner. So he was over in Iraq real quick. With his unit. He actually was over there 3 different tours. Second tour, he actually was wounded, got a Purple Heart, saw a lot of bad things happening over there, but he continues to be my hero. and went from there to serve 12 years in the Sheriff's Department out in California, Riverside County. So he's always been one who likes to live on the edge from when he was a kid playing hockey and doing mountain bike racing. Kind of continued that on into the Marine Corps and then sheriff's deputy. So he likes to go where the action is.
So it is no wonder that you got involved with the Guilford County Veterans Memorial.
Yeah, that was an easy choice. I'm involved with some other veteran organizations in town as well, which is kind of how I ended up with Susan, which is kind of an interesting story. I'm the board chair with Servant Center in town, which helps homeless disabled veterans. And one of the guys on our board called me up out of the blue and said, "Hey, I'm on this other board and we need your help." I didn't know what he was talking about. So Susan and I met, and by the end of that breakfast, I guess she had vetted me enough to say, "I want you to be my vice chair." Literally 2 days later, a storm came through Greensboro, knocked a big old tree down right through the memorial. So she and I went out there picking up the tree parts and all that kind of stuff, and we said, well, we could either just clean it all up, or maybe this is the time to go and make it better. So we kicked around a lot of great ideas, one of which was, why don't we have flagpoles for all the different branches of the service? So we put that into our game plan. Another idea that we had was, let's get a piece of military equipment. And originally we were thinking about a piece of artillery, but it was literally next to impossible to try to get that. So I was out at the Veterans Memorial Field of Honor, that Veterans Day, I guess it was, a couple years ago now. And Dan Hood, who's a veteran, and put that Field of Honor together. He and I are friends from Rotary Club, and said, hey, I'm thinking about a military piece. And he said, well, why don't you get a helicopter? He was a helicopter pilot, okay? Why don't you get a helicopter?
Just get a helicopter.
I said, yeah, okay, that's a good idea. Well, it turns out that one of my other Crescent Rotary buddies was a pilot flying helicopters. That very day I went to that meeting, Carl was there, and I'll always remember this. I said, Carl, we're thinking about getting a helicopter out at the memorial. And he goes, how many do you want? Well, it turns out that there's an association of helicopter pilots in North Carolina. And over the years, they had accumulated like 10 or 12 of them.
Oh, wow.
So Susan and I went over to this guy's backyard, which is out in the middle of nowhere, saw the Huey that is now going to become our permanent loan from them that we're going to put up and install here in the next couple weeks in the back part of the memorial.
Right, right.
So we're going to have a real live Huey that flew in Vietnam.
That's cool.
Up on an 8 to 10 foot pedestal that'll be in the back of the memorial for everybody to see.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. Okay, so the memorial's about 25 years old now, and so renovations were due, even without the tree incident. And so Susan mentioned, expanding it. You mentioned the helicopter. She also touched on some interactive parts of the memorial. Can you tell us about that?
I'm a complete idiot when it comes to technology, but I do know that there's going to be some screens out there that will be able to go and have different stories on a continual basis, to be able to share different histories of the different military branches, for example. There is going to be an interactive thing where, as I understand it, you'll be able to have a caricature, if you will, like put your phone out there at the Huey, and it'll tell the history of that particular helicopter. So there's going to be a lot of things that'll keep folks wanting to come back, versus just showing up once and saying, oh, that's a cool helicopter.
Right, right. Well, and
so
the
we're
people.
going to keep it, yeah.
The people on the bricks. I mean, that's what,
Absolutely.
if you can, each time, every time you walk by, you can see a new name and learn a new story and find out, you know, their contributions to our freedoms.
Yeah. Susan's done an amazing job putting the histories behind the names. So everybody will be able to go and say, oh, there's Sergeant Sowers, and here's his story, kind of thing.
Yeah, so tell us about, what's the timeline for all these renovations?
We are now believing, now that we've seen dirt being pushed, that we'll be in before Memorial Day.
Okay.
I just got a text from a friend who built the pedestal for us, who said they're getting ready to put that in the ground later this month. And we're going to try to coordinate so that the pedestal go in, and on the same day we bring the chopper in and have it mounted on top of the pedestal. So if you're around later on this month and get to see that, I can't wait to watch it myself.
That's gonna draw a crowd.
That's gonna draw a crowd.
We might have to close a few streets for that. I'm not sure. I'm not in charge of that, but I know people.
There you go.
So what has it meant to you to be a part of this board and to be, and I mean, all the veterans things you do, you know, you keep doing it and it's not something you have to do. So many people serve and then go on with other lives and other things and maybe don't even think about it. But what makes you keep coming back to it?
Well, I've been lucky to be able to have retired from my career, and now these veteran groups, the Marine Corps League I'm involved with, the Servant Center I mentioned, the Memorial, there's probably a couple of those I'm forgetting, but all those tying into vets that need help, or that have stories, or that have been forgotten. That's where my passion is now, is because I've seen it firsthand. I've seen the success that you can have even if you're down, and kind of hope is not there anymore in some of these other groups. To be able to go and see those folks that served for our country and now see them have a new hope and a new life. That's what keeps me going.
And I think you touched on it because every veteran has a story.
Absolutely.
Everyone. Well, thank you. Thanks for all that you're doing. We can't wait to see the renovations and just to read more about all these men and women who did so many wonderful things for our country and others.
You're invited.
I'll be there.
Can I give you, do we have time?
Sure, yeah.
The military has a tradition called the challenge coin that serves special events, special times of folks that have served in battlefields and whatever. And we'd like you to have this on behalf of the Veterans Memorial as our token of thanking. And here's how you do it.
Tell me.
Shake your hand.
Okay. Okay.
There you go.
And is this a challenge for me in some way? Well, you said it's a challenge
you can keep
coin.
helping us.
To keep helping. I can do that.
Okay.
I can definitely do that.
Good.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you very much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. And you can find out more about the Guilford County Veterans Memorial first by visiting, as we said, Country Park, just up the hill across the lake from the Greensboro Science Center. You can also find more about it out on the website. That's where you can get involved. That's where you can give. That's where you can buy a brick. It is gcveteransmemorial.org. That is our time. Thank you for spending some of yours with us. For all of us here at Greensboro Television Network, have a great day.